The year is 2023. The world is in a state of chaos. The economy is in shambles, and the political landscape is corrupt. In this time of turmoil, one man stands out, a politician named John Smith. Smith is a charismatic and intelligent man. He promises to bring order to the chaos, and he quickly gains the support of the people. However, Smith is not what he seems. He is a corrupt politician who is only interested in enriching himself. Smith's corruption soon comes to light. He is accused of taking bribes from corporations and using his position to enrich his friends and family. The people are outraged, and they demand that Smith be brought to justice. Smith is eventually arrested and put on trial. He is found guilty of corruption and sentenced to death by hanging. On the day of his execution, Smith is defiant. He refuses to apologize for his crimes, and he claims that he was only doing what was necessary to help his people. Smith is hanged in front of a crowd of onlookers. His death is a symbol of the end of an era of corruption, and it marks the beginning of a new era of hope for the people. The story of John Smith is a cautionary tale about the dangers of corruption. It shows how even the most charismatic and intelligent people can be corrupted by power. It also shows how the people can rise up to demand justice, even when the odds are stacked against them. The crowd gathered around the gallows was silent. They had come to see John Smith hang, and they were not disappointed. Smith was led out onto the platform, and he looked out at the crowd. He was defiant, as he had been throughout his trial. He refused to apologize for his crimes, and he claimed that he was only doing what was necessary to help his people. The executioner stepped forward and placed the noose around Smith's neck. Smith took a deep breath and closed his eyes. The executioner pulled the lever, and Smith's body dropped through the trapdoor. The crowd watched in silence as Smith's body swung back and forth. After a few minutes, the executioner climbed up on the platform and cut Smith down. Smith's body was taken away, and the crowd began to disperse. The people were relieved that Smith was finally gone, but they were also saddened by the fact that he had been executed. Smith's death was a symbol of the end of an era of corruption. It marked the beginning of a new era of hope for the people. The people had finally stood up to corruption, and they had won. However, the story of John Smith does not end there. His death inspired other people to fight against corruption. In the years that followed, there were many more prosecutions of corrupt politicians. The people had learned that they could not tolerate corruption, and they were determined to make sure that it never happened again. John Smith's death was a tragedy, but it was also a victory. It was a victory for the people, and it was a victory for justice. Smith's death showed the world that corruption would not be tolerated, and it inspired others to fight for a better future. The years passed, and the people of the country began to rebuild their lives. They had learned from the mistakes of the past, and they were determined to create a better future for themselves and their children. The new government was honest and transparent. They worked hard to serve the people, and they were held accountable for their actions. Corruption was no longer tolerated, and the people were finally able to enjoy peace and prosperity. One day, a young man was walking through the town square. He saw a statue of John Smith, and he stopped to read the inscription. The inscription read, "John Smith, a man who died for his country. He stood up to corruption, and he paid the ultimate price. His death was a tragedy, but it was also a victory. It showed the world that corruption would not be tolerated, and it inspired others to fight for a better future. The young man was inspired by the inscription. He vowed to never forget the story of John Smith, and he vowed to do his part to fight against corruption. The young man grew up to be a successful politician. He served his country with honesty and integrity, and he was never corrupted by power. He was a true inspiration to the people, and he helped to create a better future for his country. The story of John Smith is a reminder that corruption can never be tolerated. It is a reminder that the people have the power to hold their leaders accountable, and that they will not stand for corruption. It is also a reminder that even one person can make a difference. If we all stand up to corruption, we can create a better future for ourselves and our children.